Oh yes, another happy landing. Let's see who's in here. Is it just me and the cat again? Ron, welcome. Happy of you to join us, or I guess me. Cool music. Yeah, thanks, man. I put a lot into choosing the music, actually. I kind of wanted it to have the whole coffee shop late night feel where people could just come and, you know, chop it up a little bit and then just be on their merry way. So hopefully it's not too repetitive, too annoying. This right here is on some kind of infinite mix. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that. Who else is here? Rubalo, what's up, man? The 100th. Hello. What's up, gentlemen? How you guys doing, ladies and gents? BBV, nods, hello there. How you guys doing this evening? Let's see, the chat is not working on the screen. Very curious, most curious. Okay, so hope you guys had a good week. As you know, every Saturday, this is what we do. We live stream. We talk about different Star Wars events here and there. It's nothing too major. It's more relaxed. I keep you guys apprised to what's going on the channel, and we just talk some lore, a little of this, a little of that, forget about it. You know, nothing too intense. If you're here, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like if you haven't already, and subscribe. And I usually try and start off with a story. So Ron, you can already attest to this. Yesterday, I was about to say a couple days ago, my memory is terrible. Last night, in fact, I was on the EU show with the channel Let's Talk Star Wars, and it was really interesting and kind of serendipitous, if we're keeping it real, how we met. This is a guy who starred in Star Wars Theory's Vader Fan Film starred. I mean, he was a trooper, but I mean, shoot, you're a star to me. He was a trooper in Star Wars Theory's fan film, and it turns out that he and I were both at the premiere. Obviously, me as a fan and him as a cast member. I was live streaming, he was live streaming. Later that night, or perhaps the next day, I commented on his live stream. He came around and watched mine, and then, you know, bada bing, bada boom, he invited me on his show. Isn't that crazy how life just kind of, you know, throws ingredients into a bowl and poof, out comes a tasty meal? Very, very interesting. Likes and share. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Vader comic was great. Yes, it was. What Vader comic are you referring to? 4233. Yeah, it was a cool show. I really did enjoy it. So I have left the link, not in the description box, but in the comments. So if you would, please go ahead and head over to Let's Talk Star Wars, show him some love. He has different weekly segments that are really, really cool. He's a cosplayer, he builds costumes, so go ahead, show him some love with likes and, you know, kisses and all that stuff. So other than that, it was a pretty slow week. I certainly was looking forward to linking up with you guys. Still shooting for 150 subscribers. What does the timer say? 25 hours to go. So that count is wrong. We're not at 125, we're at 133, I believe. So we're up 8 from that. But I would like to get to 150 within the next 7 days. So if you know somebody that would appreciate joining the Black Mandalorian community, shoot them my channel, see if they like it. If not, what can you do? We're only human, right? Some of us more than human, more than mere mortals, but what are you gonna do? The Moment arc. Yeah, the Moment arc was very, very significant. That is just the expanded universe at its finest. Darth Vader talking and fighting with the mask, an ancient Sith mask on Mustafar and his temple. Did anybody notice that his temple was a tuning fork? Like a literal tuning fork. And tuning forks, you know, they're two-pronged. for sound or what have you, or perhaps for electric currents or what have you. But Vader's was a tuning fork to tune the dark side. I just really appreciate stuff like that. That's really awesome. That's the EU at its finest. Indeed. What I'm really curious about is why the chat is not showing up on the screen. That's one of the most fun parts. I mean, a lot of stuff isn't showing up on the screen. Let me see if I can rectify this injustice. Unfortunately, might not be able to. Oh well, I'm not gonna worry about it. Another happy landing. What are you gonna do? So today on the show, the live stream, I only want to do it for 30 minutes or about that. We have a couple of things to talk about. One, where the channel is going to be going in the next month. And then two, a little idea I had, a little epiphany that I had, and I might send an email. So one, the channel in the next month. As I have said over and over before, I don't want to be like every other Star Wars content creator out there. There are a great many that I have respect for. Well, I don't know if it's a great many, but there are quite a few that I have respect for as far as their ideas about Star Wars and critical thoughts and insightful thoughts and good content. People like Wayward Jedi, let me see, the at chat or AT chat. Those are a couple of people. I like Kyle Katarn, he's cool. I mean, there are a few people, and I'm not talking about the huge followings. Like, obviously Star Wars Theory is a huge one, and he brought a lot of us together. But it seems to me that a lot of these creators and Star Wars fans just kind of share similar circles, like they're talking about the same thing. Like when I went on Let's Talk Star Wars EU show yesterday, that was really cool. I mean, that was fun. We were just, friendly bantering about the EU, about different books, favorite Sith, favorite Jedi, this, that, and the third. That was a lot of fun. When everybody starts to report on, oh, this comic came out or that comic came out, and everybody is spewing different iterations of the same thing, I don't want to do that. And that's not what I want to share with you guys. That's not what I want to give you guys. You guys deserve a better class of criminal. Yeah, I was just watching The Dark Knight last night. It's on Netflix. That is just an incredible piece of cinema. An incredible piece of cinema. Hello, Jerry Vadrine. Yo. Let's Talk Star Wars. What's up, man? I was just ranting and raving about you. So that's what I don't want for the channel. That's what I don't want to give you guys. So in the next month or so, my channel is about to go into the visual phase. Right now, and I guess I've been doing this about a month and a half, or coming up on a month and a half. Yeah, a little bit over a month. So it's been mostly audio and me kind of finding my cadence, finding my soul, what I'm about. I have a hard time putting a description on things until I've really got to kind of smoke it over. You know what I mean? Until I've played with it, been molded by it, all of that. So I think I'm starting to get a sense that my channel is a lot about character examinations, the deeper side of these characters, character breakdowns, discussions, if you will. It seems that's kind of the way it's trending, but we shall see where we shall see. There's certainly room for aggressive expansion. It's about being a kid again. That's why I started the EU show. 100%. You get a huge part of Star Wars is just the mystique, the wonder. And that's something that kids, I feel like if you say children, you're kind of a weirdo. I think kids, that's something that they intrinsically possess. I worked with kids for a long time, and at the end of the day, a lot of it is just about fun and games for them. And so having something like the EU show on Let's Talk Star Wars channel, that makes you feel like a true blue fan again, a kid again. So I really appreciate that. And so we need more creative things like that. So for me, my channel is about to go visual. There will certainly be elements of what we've been doing up until this point. It'll be video essays and things of that nature, but with a more visual aspect. Technology is crazy in this day and age. You can shoot 4K off your phone. I got an iPhone 8 Plus and I plan to use it. Still gonna be incognito and not gonna be sharing my face. However, it will be highly visual, and hopefully I can give you guys a cinematic element and it won't just be typical talking head stuff. There will be a time and place for that, but you know, we have a great many things to explore, and so I want to give you guys some fun. I want to have fun myself, and yeah, definitely gonna be doing some fireside chats. For those of you guys that are old enough, fireside chats, FDR, pre-World War II, you know, American classics. Anyway, so that's where the channel is going to be going. All I need is to make a couple of Etsy purchases, get some gloves, get a balaclava, and then we're pretty much off. And of course, I'm going to be staying true to the Black Mandalorian and trying to build whatever mythos I can around that, or whatever mythos we can. The audio sounds like I'm dead, bro. That's hilarious. Oh, Ron, you have a stream as well. That chat is coming live on my stream. Oh, whoa, yo, we're gonna make some memories. Our little community, this little thing of ours, La Cosa Nostra. I'll definitely, please, Mike, head over to the comments and drop a link, please. All you guys, or Ron, excuse me. Yeah, all you guys go ahead and follow that link that Ron is gonna drop so that we can mess with him in the AT-AT chat tomorrow. So it seems like there are different kind of tiers of Star Wars YouTubers, and I'm entering into a tier. Because I just saw AT-AT chat on Hello Greedo's live stream earlier, and I was like, what? And he was a moderator, and that just threw me for a loop. So that's cool. That's good to see. There's some brotherhood. Let me catch up with this chat. Fett in the original trilogy Bounty Hunters, Captain Hark from Rebels, both tubes from Rogue One, classic Filthy Dewbacks, Infant's Nest, and Solo growing on me. You know what? Infant's Nest is really, really cool. And I think that when I first saw her, I was like, and then when I started to think about it, I was like, hold on, okay. This is an interesting character. Riddle me this. Do you think that Infant's Nest had the Force? Because when I went back and watched Solo, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was dodging some blaster bolts. The stream is dropping out, eh? Let's see what I can do. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, stream is dropping out. Okay, let's press a couple of buttons. Just that and the third. Okay, let me know how the stream is now. I'm getting good on my end. Okay, so stop posting links. My bad. I gotta tweak with Nightbot so that you guys can do some links. If you can't link in the chat, refresh the page and then link in the actual comment box on the page, and then I'll make sure to pin it so that everybody can see. Infamous fans were just like Sabine's wrist shields. Ah, interesting. Okay, got you. Got it. You need to make someone a moderator to drop links. All right, well, we will get there when we get there. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, once we got a couple of live streams under our belt, we certainly will arrange some moderators. So, why we are here? We talked about phase 2 with the channel. That'll be fun. I'm being vague on purpose because I really want you guys to just give me your gut wrench. Gut wrench? I don't think that's the right phrase. Your gut reactions. Anyway, moving on to why we are here. So a couple of days ago, and I think I might send this in an email to Kathleen Kennedy herself, or I don't know, her executive assistant, whoever. But so Star Wars Theory, his fan film, he's not the only incredible fan film out there. There have been a few. I just watched one called Darth Maul Apprentice a couple days ago, and it has like 18 million views. That was sick. It didn't have quite the production value of the Vader Fan Film. It wasn't as cinematic in its presentation, but man, was it cold-blooded. The action was cold. I mean, it's Darth Maul versus, I think, 6 Jedi, maybe 4, I can't remember. It was cold-blooded. It's about 16, 17 minutes long. Go check it out, Darth Maul Apprentice. That's really sick. So that being said, clearly this talent that exists within the fandom is starting to pull outside of Lucasfilm. It's starting to coagulate, right? And better content is starting to drop. And Star Wars Theory's Vader Fan Film, I think, is a harbinger for something more. I don't know if he necessarily is going to be the banner carrier, although he does wield a significant amount of power for somebody that doesn't work for Lucasfilm. But the ripple effects of this Vader Fan Film and everybody that participated on it, Mike included, it will send ripple effects through the Star Wars community that we have yet to feel. I just saw an Instagram from Dupree that the film was beamed up to the space station. So I don't know exactly how that works, but it looked like an official plaque from NASA. And if that's the case, whoa. Find someone you trust, hit the icon, and then make them a mod. Okay, I definitely will. Are you interested in joining the Dark Council next Wednesday? I sure would. If you could send me an email with the details, if it's just the same, I definitely would. Just let me know time. BBV 42033 says, hoping the Django comic will be good. Twin Engines of Destruction should be a shirt at least. Django comic. I haven't read, outside of the Darth Vader comic, I read the 2015 one, and then I read this year's. I haven't been keeping up with too many of the other comics, here and there, but I need to. My dad used to collect Star Wars comics. He has all the Republics, all of those one-offs and stuff like that, some good stuff. All the Dark Times comics. Dark Times is an excellent product. But where was I? Yes. So the ripple effects. I think that there are some things that are going to happen that Lucasfilm will not be able to ignore. And they're obviously not ignoring it because he was conversing with them for a time to make sure that everything was legally decent for him to get this film done. He spent 150 grand, pretty much of his own money, to get it done. As Mike said before, when I was on his stream last night, people got paid for this fan film. I don't know too much about fan films, but I was under the impression that people don't get paid for those things. So the bar is just being raised higher and higher. So there are two things that I think that Lucasfilm can learn from this specific event and from the past year in Star Wars. The first thing regarding fan-made endeavors, they have to do more. There is no fandom like Star Wars. I'm not sure what comes close. There are some that may be more involved, but there are none that are more involved and bigger. I don't think Marvel touches Star Wars at all. I don't think you have as much to talk about in Marvel, and I'm a huge Marvel fan, but it's just not as grounded as Star Wars. So anyway, one thing that Lucasfilm should focus on doing in the near future is to give a significant round of applause for fans. And I don't mean like just a thank you, even though just a thank you can go a long way. I also mean that they need to put some stuff on screen. So we've never seen a project like this before, talking about the Shards of the Past Vader fan film. Would it be a bad idea from a PR perspective for Lucasfilm, before like an episode of The Mandalorian, or like Pixar does with their movies, they always have a 5-minute short, a 10-minute short before the movie starts. Why not throw up one of the best fan films in front of episode 9 or one of the spin-offs? You know what I mean? And then throw the fan like a little bag of cash. I mean, I don't know, but something needs to be done to, one, show fans that Lucasfilm is invested in them. As we were saying last night on Let's Talk Star Wars stream, as a leader, you're responsible for where the ship goes, but you're also responsible for everybody who's on board. And so the fans are on board, and there are a lot of nutcases out there who just want to see the world burn. But there's a lot of people who have spent, years, who were at opening night 1977, who have spent years invested in this product. So for things to just be drastically changed, like, we were talking about Tarkin, his entire character or backstory at least being changed. People don't like that Big Brother Gestapo stuff. So something needs to be done to show fans like, hey, we appreciate you. Not only do we appreciate you, we see the crazy amount of talent that you can pool together and that you're exerting on the Star Wars world, and you're improving the quality of the worldwide content. Dave, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for sharing, my friend. Yo, Real Comic Stacks, welcome. How you doing? I didn't get to tell you congratulations, but congratulations on passing 100 subs, man. Ever onward and upward. So something needs to be done, and I think that it would be a smooth move if Lucasfilm decided to include, just for example, Star Wars Theory's fan film as the short in front of episode 9. That would be cool. That would be cool. Another thing, and this kind of goes hand in hand with that, something that Let's Talk Star Wars and I were talking about last night, and something that's practiced in many different areas of business. There 100% has to be a social media blackout of people who are working on the production of the episodic Star Wars movies. The spin-offs, I haven't thought about that as much, and it's just a spin-off, but there 100% has to be a social media blackout of any of the saga movies. So Mike Zero, I don't know if any of you guys follow him, but to me, I'm not gonna hate on him, but to me, he's just kind of like a tabloid. It's Devil Man seen in cloud. Ant gives birth to baby boy. I kind of see him like that. But that's his thing. I don't have to exist in that world. I don't have to run in that circle. That's okay. He's doing him. So when Rian Johnson decided to let loose on him before The Last Jedi was released, that was just a bad move. Because one, when you are creating a product, it's not yours, it's everybody's, and people are gonna tear. The internet is terrible. We live in the meme era. You're gonna get memed, and it's gonna be voraciously bad. So you gotta be bigger than that. And if you can't be bigger than that, you should not be on social media. And you never hear J.J. Abrams doing this stuff. Maybe because he's been in the industry longer, so he has a temperament for it. I don't know. Regardless, if you're on the production of a Star Wars movie, you shouldn't have any social media for the production of that film, and probably at least 3 months after the film's release. At least. Appreciate that, Comic Stacks. Appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. Make sure you guys go and sub him. Yes, clickbait. Clickbait is, I think that's the universal term. But regardless of his clickbait nature, that's him, and some people love him for it. I mean, you know, whatever, to each his own. But there was an instance in John D. Rockefeller's book where, you know, he was getting a lot of flack from American media about what a terrible man he was, and you know, his monopolization of railroad and oil and things of that nature. And his assistant was walking with him on his grounds in his garden, and he said, "Aren't you going to respond to the media?" And Rockefeller stopped, and he pointed at a caterpillar, and he said, "If I step on that caterpillar, it'll call attention to it. But if I ignore it, it'll go away." So that is the lesson that people like Rian Johnson, who are in a position of significant power, need to exercise. And not only that, the heads at Lucasfilm more so need to step up on the leadership front. And I mean, a social media blackout has to be standard with something as hot-blooded as Star Wars. I don't know, maybe you guys think I'm wrong. Let me sip on this water. It's actually not water. It's melted ice that was sitting in Sprite. So that tastes a certain kind of way. So yes. I think that in the next 2 years, Lucasfilm and their PR department should be concerned on one thing, and that is settling down the fandom, taking some rage out of the balloon, taking some air out of the balloon, some rage out of the machine, because it's just a little bit too crazy. And it doesn't make sense when people are like coming with the insults and this and that. And I get the trolling stuff, but some people get legitimately triggered over something that isn't even real. It's make-believe, it's imaginary. I love Star Wars. I mean, I love Star Wars. When I was a kid, I used to pray to God that it would become real, but it's not. So Lucasfilm needs to take a bigger role in the community and just thanking fans by putting their efforts on the big screen. I mean, dude, we would flip if that happened. We would flip if that happened. Like, straight up. That would be nasty. That would be a smooth move, like round of applause. That's one. And then they 100% have to have a social media blackout, because it's just it's just comical. Like, you can't, even if it's Mike Zero, like, you can't clap at Mike Zero if you're directing a Star Wars film. I mean, at what point, even George Lucas, with all the heat that he got for the prequels, the only thing of significance that he really said is, why would I make a Star Wars movie if everybody is just gonna trash him and hate him? And that was fair, but that's really the only thing he said about it. And he wasn't lying. I got beer here. Man, I need a beer. What kind of beer do you guys drink? In Southern California, beer is huge. I'm starting to see breweries pop up all over the nation. I live in San Diego, and I think in San Diego County, there are over 180 breweries. That's nuts. That could be said about today's politics. Yeah, it certainly could, but how do you, I don't know, how do you put a mute button on politicians? I'm not sure. I have German beer here. Nice. Okay, for the Mando TV series, they're doing well, hyping it with one-shot images for fans. I don't think it's IG-88 unless he downgraded himself. Yeah, I think that it's nice when you have a little bit of mystery. I can't remember which law it is, but one of the 48 laws of power says that you should use absence to increase respect and honor. I think it's law 16. And when you just show a little bit of skin under the skirt, a lot of times that just drives people crazy. So the few images that they're showing from The Mandalorian are just awesome. I personally didn't think that was IG-88. I thought that looked a lot more like IG-86 because IG-88 looks a little bit more slim and he's jet black. That looked like a, just kind of a dirty metal droid. So, I don't know. Uncle Owen, I know I'm on probation. I clean the droids. Can I go to the Tashi station? What's up, Nicholas? He's referencing the Star Wars gangster rap from the early 2000s, before YouTube, when it was E-Bombs World and Yahoo Music and Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves. Jeez Louise. I mean, Windows 95, if we're going further back, floppy disk. I'm playing 5 Minute Marvel with my son. I like IPA Stone. Yeah, IPA Stone is good. Stone Brewery, that's San Diego. 1962 Crown, awesome. I had some Crown Apple on the rocks with one of these Mexican apple sodas. Oh man, it was ridiculously good. It was ridiculously good. Welcome to Cali, indeed. Dave used to live in San Diego. Awesome. Not SD, but North County, Encinitas, Leucadia area. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar. All of that surfer territory. I don't get up there often unless I want like a, I don't know, wasabi burrito or something. Yeah, I don't think that was IG-88 either, personally. But I mean, we'll see. I'm really excited to explore more of the grungy aspects of the galaxy. When I think of what The Mandalorian could, kind of bring to screen, I think of Mos Eisley Cantina. I think of Mos Espa. I really want to see just aliens everywhere, gangsters, drunken brawls over spiked blue milk. Like I want to see all of that. I want it to be dirty, post-galactic Civil War, just grungy smugglers, bounty hunters. It's awesome. I want to see people like Bosk. I want to see, this is gonna be next level. So I'm really, really excited. And I do understand that a lot of us also, myself included, we do want to see like crazy force powers, and we want to see red and blue lightsabers and this and that. The cool thing about Star Wars is that we got nothing but time and nothing but space. No pun intended, literally space. So there will certainly be time for that. And not just in books and video games, but we want to see this stuff on the screen. We want to see the expanded universe on screen. And I think that we will. Just in due time. The EU was, like 30 years, of content. The EU right now, as we know it, or canon as we know it, is, it's just 5 years. So we need time. I recently just started reading Dark Disciples, the Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress book. And it's funny, it's interesting so far. I like it. I don't know if any of you guys have read it. Did anyone read the new Obi-Wan comic? Raises the question, was Obi-Wan ready for a Padawan? No, haven't read it yet. Is that in the Republic series? If you've never been to Juanita's on Pacific Coast Highway, you need to go. Oh yeah, Captain Kino's for breakfast. I've heard of Juanita's. I'll have to check it out. Nah, Obi-Wan wasn't ready. He grew up with Anakin. I'm thinking it'll be like a space western if he's a bounty hunter. Oh yeah, 100% Dave. It even called him a lone gunslinger, which seems to get at the heart of Star Wars, which is really a space western Japanese opera type thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's get into that a little bit. Comic Stacks. He was not ready for a Padawan. I'd like to know what you all think. I don't think that he was ready for a Padawan. He did it obviously just out of duty to Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan was ready to be a Jedi Knight for sure. And if he had taken... So if Obi-Wan in episode 3 had taken Anakin as a Padawan learner, if he had taken him in his late 30s as he was as a council member, more experienced, probably more patient, more capable, I think he would have been a better master for a young Anakin. But Qui-Gon probably would have been the ideal master. I think that Qui-Gon and Anakin have a similar call to the living force. Qui-Gon's is just more refined, but Anakin clearly has a strong connection to the living force. But it really should have been Yoda. Yoda should have said, okay, look, we were wrong. The Sith returned. We were also wrong. This kid is the chosen one. Obi-Wan, I know that, you know, you are doing this out of a sense of duty to Qui-Gon, your dead master. But if the Sith have returned and this kid is the chosen one, I'm sorry, but step aside, kid. Let an old pro handle this. But he was scared of Anakin. They were all scared. Oh, bogus. Somebody dropped a dislike? Petty. That's okay. The part of the game. Obi-Wan was ready when Luke came along. Yes, he was. Don't forget the wholesome farm boy. Yes, very true. I hope the Mando TV series has 0 Jedi. Reference them, sure, but no actual Jedi. It's set after the Return of the Jedi, so they were purged. Yeah, it's Luke is the only Jedi, and we're not gonna see him on screen, I don't think. Easter egg, sure, but it's probably not gonna have any Jedi. Maybe pretend like Jedi imposters, stuff like that. And also, I mean, like in the EU, if you're a bounty hunter, you're running into all type of like crazy cats, you know, who are pretending to be Jedi and wielding like laser whips and stuff like that. So if they don't have any Jedi, I still would like to see some over the top force powered individuals clash with some bounty hunters. That would be cool. Okay, so the Fallen Order crossover. I was under the impression that the Fallen Order took place after Revenge of the Sith. So I wonder, how can there be a crossover? And we don't know anything about the Fallen Order, so I mean, who knows? But I wonder, just based on the timelines, if that takes place after Revenge of the Sith, how can they have a crossover with something that takes place after Return of the Jedi, which is like, what, 23 years apart? But anyway, okay, there are 2 levels of understanding. 1 level needed for personal comprehension, a 2nd level needed to teach another person to comprehend. Yes, that is certainly what is required of any teacher, not just a Jedi. And that's something that Obi-Wan didn't have. I mean, he had the technical Jedi skills, but at the time of the Phantom Menace, Anakin, to be honest, more of a burden to Obi-Wan. And I think that we should give Anakin and Obi-Wan some credit. They both turned out to be fine Jedi. But would things have turned out a little differently if he had a more seasoned Jedi? If he had Yoda? To be honest, Yoda should have stepped up. He was just, I don't know, frightened. You're not doing it right if you don't get thumbs down. That is true. I will take heart in that. Anakin did bring balance by getting rid of the Jedi. Yes, I agree. He got rid of the Jedi and the Sith. But something that's interesting is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like we've ever been given a black and white definitive answer on what balance in the Force is. Is it no Sith and a small amount of Jedi? Is it a presence of Jedi and Sith? Or is it neither? I lean towards the school of thought that it's neither. but I'm curious to hear what you guys think of that. Game, that's what I heard just the other day. Ahsoka to Vader, there are no Jedi. We know where our thumbs down is coming from, Ron. Rogue One worked since they threw in Vader at the end for fan service and to link films. Luke to Rey, now that they're extinct. Obi-Wan cut Maul in half as a Padawan. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not, Ron, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Obi-Wan wasn't capable. I mean, for the longest, until Anakin came along, he was the only living Jedi to take down a Sith Lord. He certainly was capable. But in terms of being a master, a teacher, what I'm saying is, as a teacher, I think that Anakin needed somebody more seasoned. He took Anakin out of necessity and out of, fulfilling a promise to his dying master. But could Anakin have benefited from somebody more experienced and more weathered? I think so. I think, what is going on? My bad, Let's Talk Star Wars. Nightbot hasn't been configured. It thinks that you're spamming, I guess, because you dropped 2 emojis. Don't worry about it. Nicholas says, I think that it is Jedi and no Sith, but who knows in terms of balance in the Force. Well, I think it should be both due to yin and yang. Maybe both means none. Maybe both of them are eradicated. Because if we think of like the Force, so it's really all about factions, right? We were introduced to the Force through the Jedi faction. Then the Sith, who are just like the Jedi, come along and they have a different viewpoint of the Force. So these are pretty much, to Democrats and Republicans, just in the sense that they're 2 different sides of a similar issue, right? So the Jedi, and this is what Palpatine was right about, all people who have power are afraid to lose it. And the Jedi claim that the Force is in balance when they're in the driver's seat, but then when the Sith are in the driver's seat, the Force is in their favor. But when they both went away, it seemed that at the very least the Force reset itself, or it wasn't as violent, or it wasn't unbalanced. Because although Luke was there in Return of the Jedi, all this and that, just consider that Luke was a Jedi, but only in name. He wasn't a Jedi in the same sense that Obi-Wan and Yoda were. They were lifelong career professional Jedi. He was the inheritor of their will, excuse me. So he was a Jedi more so in name than in religion or practice. So there are 2 sides of what the Force being in balance is. But then there is a third point of view, and we can look to the Bendu for that. And that isn't new to Star Wars Rebels. I mean, that's in the EU. Like I was talking about Trader last night on the Let's Talk Star Wars stream. The Ashla and the Bogan, those were in George Lucas's original storyboard. The Jedi Order wield the Ashla and the Bogan, the light and the dark. So it would seem that there is a light, there is a dark, there is everything in between, and then perhaps there is no light and there is no dark, as Vergier and Trader said, and perhaps there's just the Force as an entity, and the people who use the Force for either good or evil, they start to tip the scale. Perhaps, I don't know. Now I'm dropping. Am I dropping for anybody else? I'm still getting good over here. Let me refresh just to double check. Okay. Let me catch up on the chat. me see. Voice echoing. Is anybody else getting the echo? Echo in the voice. Dropping out again. Let's see. What can we do here? Bear with me a moment. I'll have to configure that later. Is it a terrible echo? Balance was learning both sides in Star Wars. Think back to the Ashland Bogan. We got Rey. Thanks the Force. So I'm just catching up on the chat. Both the Jedi and the Sith sense disturbances in the balance. Yes, yes. If Kylo doesn't seek the Bendu, I'll be disappointed. That would be nice to see the Bendu in Star Wars. I certainly would like. I would like a over-the-top mythical monster like him to be in the sequels, because the sequels hasn't really gotten that. It doesn't have a Dagobah. The coolest, I think, visual locale in the sequels has been Crate so far to me. Other than that, it's been kind of lukewarm, just a little bit. So the Bendu in there would be cool. There is no light, there is no dark, there is only the Force. Yoda said, "We are not this crude matter, we are beings of light." Yes, luminous beings we are, not this crude matter. Okay. How can a disturbance be sensed by both sides, light and dark? Oh no, like a 70s porn echo. I think that might just be my settings in OBS, and I need to tweak with that so that I can get more of the warmth, not so much reverberance. Or maybe it's because I'm in this wooden room. I don't know. Perhaps that may have something to do with it. Star Wars After Dark. Smooth chat. Yeah, Ron. Anyway, how can a disturbance be sensed by both sides, light and dark? Star Wars After Dark, smooth chat. That's hilarious. You guys are nuts. How can a disturbance be sensed by both sides, light and dark? I'm curious, Conwitty Conway, what you are driving at there. So there's one force that everybody is either pulling from or participating in. And I'm curious what you guys think disturbances actually are. Because he's right. Sidious has said, there's been a disturbance in the Force, episode 5. Qui-Gon has said, there's a disturbance in the Force. Obi-Wan has said it. So what do you guys think disturbances in the Force actually are? We never see Jedi since the Jedi. Well, I would imagine the Jedi are more so always in tune with each other. It's when a fringe element comes into the picture. Because as far as we know, the Sith have always hid themselves. And so in episode 1, when Obi-Wan says, "I feel something elsewhere, elusive," I'm guessing that the Sith revealed themselves either briefly or wholly in the Force. So, the Jedi were the only, or the dominant force, no pun intended, they were the dominant faction using the Force in the entire galaxy. And the Sith, there's only 2 of them. So whatever they did in episode 1 to reveal themselves, they took off like their Force cloak or what have you. I think that's when the Jedi sense them, and I guess that would be the disturbance. And then in episode 5, from the Sith point of view, Sidious says there's been a disturbance in the Force. It was Luke. Luke was that disturbance for them. And that makes sense because the Sith were the dominant Force users in the galaxy, so they would sense any other person using the Force in a significant way. And when Luke used the Force on Hoth to escape the Wampa, I think that they sensed that. They sensed him drawing on the Force heavily. Let's see. Turbulence, like air or water. That makes sense. It's sensing the other side. Yeah, I agree. The new Thrawn book might explore that Bendu side. Oh yeah, Thrawn and the Bendu, they do have a little beef, don't they? Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan sense Darth Maul. The Sith sense Luke growing in the light. Yes. Palpatine also said there's disturbance in the Force. Yep, episode 5. I'm currently rereading Plagueis to explore that Vader Momin life arc. Indeed. Man, I sure did say that I was only gonna go 30 minutes and it's 6:51. Cursing my family. Talking. Mouthpieces. I mean, I could talk Star Wars all day, all night. So, yeah, just circling back, a couple of things that we talked about. I think that balance in the Force means no Jedi, no Sith, no dominant faction pulling the Force either way. The Force just allowed to exist as a blanket, as an entity. And then it would seem when there's a disturbance in the Force, like you guys all said, that it's when somebody who's not of the ruling faction is using the Force and they can sense that. And it would seem that you only get disturbances in the Force when, so like the Jedi, the Sith did not reveal themselves, but when they did, it was a disturbance. So the Jedi probably hadn't sensed too many disturbances in the Force during the 1,000 years that they were ruling the galaxy. And then Sidious and Vader feeling Luke's disturbance. I mean, if you got a jet black night sky, you're gonna be able to see the 1 or 2 stars that appear. So in the galaxy, there are no Jedi, so there's no real competent Force users. It's just 2 Sith. So when anybody uses the Force in a significant way, they're immediately gonna be able to see those people, or their attention will be called to them at the very least. Obi-Wan felt it when Obi-Wan felt it when Alderaan went, though. Yeah, he did. Lots of Force shrouds. Yes, indeed. Personally, just from a lore perspective, I'm glad that the Jedi lost. When you watch the Clone Wars, and then you watch the originals, and you watch, just when you watch Star Wars over and over, especially the Clone Wars and then Episode 3, and then you watch Rogue One and Rebels, and you really get to see Vader as a character, what he became. Then you go back in time to the Clone Wars and you see what the Jedi were doing. The Jedi are supposed to be this super altruistic order, but they were essentially just police officers for the Republic in its waning years. Everybody except for Qui-Gon. Mace Windu and Qui-Gon are foils for each other. Well, Qui-Gon is a foil for Mace Windu and the Jedi. Mace Windu perfectly represented the Jedi at the end of the Republic. Qui-Gon walks into a room with the freaking Chosen One, supposedly the most important manifesto of their freaking order, and he says, yo, we need to train him. You can't take on a second Padawan, the code forbids it. What? Man, screw the code. This is the Chosen One, the Sith are back. Yo, it's wartime. Like, what? Qui-Gon was the Qui-Gon was the only Jedi who had it together. The code forbids it. What are you talking about? Man, blank the code. Like, the Sith are back. This is the Chosen One. Like, it's time to go. Time's running out. Yeah, I don't know. So the Jedi, yeah, they definitely lost their way by the Clone Wars. They were a part of the bureaucracy, which was ridiculous because they're really a religion. They should have just been advisors to the Republic. They shouldn't have. Coruscant, the main Jedi temple should not have been on Coruscant. I mean, first off, even if you don't know what happened with Cypher Diaz and stuff like that, Obi-Wan goes to a planet almost in the unknown regions, and a 1,000,000-man army pops up out of nowhere, or a 1,000,000,000 army pops up out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, a comparable army full of droids rises up to secede from the Republic. Even if you don't have the Force, that looks like a setup. Even if you don't have the Force, that looks like a setup. What the Jedi should have done was stepped away from the war, and they would have said, look, this doesn't make any sense. The Sith appeared 10 years ago. All of a sudden, we can't see into the future anymore. The dark side's clouding the Force. Okay, that's a problem in and of itself. Now, all of a sudden, one of our own members ordered a large clone army, then went missing. And all of a sudden, now we're supposed to fight this war. Something ain't right. They should have pulled off. The Jedi Council should have went, I don't know, to Octu to discover their roots, and they should have meditated on and focused on finding the Sith Lord. The problem with the Jedi is they thought that the Sith were some huge, massive shadow organization that was going to come to them in the field and fight them mano a mano. The Jedi were still on some army of light type stuff. You know what I mean? The Sith had evolved, but the Jedi didn't. Let me catch up in this chat. He sensed the loss of life. Yes. They lost their way by the Clone Wars. Absolutely. Luke's new order was more like the EU Jedi Order. Yes. Give him to the guy who was a Padawan yesterday. Right, exactly. Like Obi-Wan literally was a Padawan 5 minutes ago. Oh yeah, you take the chosen one. What? That's why Qui-Gon was in the movie. He was the only Jedi in the Rogue Jedi Order. Yeah, they call Qui-Gon a Maverick. So sad. So sad. The Order was a Maverick Order. They weren't Jedi. Qui-Gon is the only person we see on screen saying, I'm going to follow the will of the Force. The code? What code? I mean, come on, man. Old Republic Jedi. Yeah, I got you. I read there was a Sith temple under the Jedi Spires on Coruscant. There wasn't to my understanding, there wasn't a Sith temple per se, but there was a recess of the dark side. Kind of like a chasm. The Jedi temple is built on top of a chasm that oozed the dark side of the Force. So they built it there to keep it at bay. If all that happened, you would have no movies. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. And to be honest, the fall of the Jedi and the Revenge of the Sith is one of the most masterful things we've seen, just like in pop culture, on cinema, just from the imagination. Yeah, the Revenge of the Sith is just incredible. How Palpatine politically, and that's why I don't know, man. I love the prequels, and I always have. It was just incredible to watch. And even if you throw the politics out the window, just watching everything that was on Anakin's shoulders. I mean, he's probably the most relatable guy maybe in cinema. This dude had all of these people around him who were supposed to, be his brothers in arms, but he couldn't go to any of them for help. He couldn't even go to the person who he saw as like a father/brother in Obi-Wan and say, hey man, I've been having these visions. I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? He couldn't even do that. And why couldn't he do that? Why was he so distraught just, within himself? Dude, the Jedi freaking exiled his Padawan. They threw his Padawan to the Senate like, a T-bone steak to pit bulls. So no wonder Anakin, thought the Jedi were evil. No wonder he didn't say anything to anybody. No wonder he went into Palpatine's arms. I mean, I don't know. That's why I love Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, that's why I love it. It always hurts when it always hurts when I watch Revenge of the Sith, and knowing what we know now about who he became and who he was. It just hurts. Welcome, Ensuing Chaos 1986. And he says, yo man, so the thing with the Jedi was they were trapped by policy. They were initially advisors, right? And they were manipulated into being more during the Army of Light stuff and then pushed out again. Yeah, I agree, but they facilitated their own manipulation. They were asking to be manipulated. Trapped by policy. That sounds like an incredible oxymoron, because they're supposed to be basically just religious monks who try and keep the peace. Basically, to see, and I agree with you 100%, what the Jedi should have been was Qui-Gon. In episode 1, he said to Obi-Wan, we cannot use our powers to help her. They were there to make sure she didn't die or any harm came to her, but she was also in the middle of a revolution. And he said, yo, we can't interfere in that. We're just here to make sure that she don't get hurt. That's what the Jedi should have been. The Jedi were not neutral. As a kid, Revenge of the Sith taught me not to chase girls because I saw what they do to you. Hey man, that's what being overly emotionally possessive does to you. Padme didn't do nothing to him, man, but I agree, you shouldn't chase girls either. Once pushed back, the Jedi had to cling to their position or lose their place in the Republic altogether. They couldn't just step back. They were trapped in their slot. You know what? I have to respectfully disagree. I think that they shouldn't. The problem is they were afraid of losing their place in the Republic. They shouldn't have been. Regardless of what was happening with it. So look, if the Jedi had stepped back, that puts a huge hole in Palpatine's plan. Palpatine was counting. He needed the Clone Wars not just to whittle the Jedi's numbers down, but to cast them as an enemy of the Republic over the course of a war that killed billions. At first they were keepers of the peace, but now they were just, on this clone crusade, and they wanted power. So if the Jedi step back from that engagement, Palpatine has nothing. He can't trap the Jedi, he can't whittle them down. All of a sudden, they're using a microscope to try and find him. So that's what they should have done. And let the Republic, dude, as you know from the EU, the Republic has been around for, 25,000 years. It's gone through a lot of stuff, a lot of BS with Exar Kun. Sith Lords come and go, and the Republic is always in a crisis. They'll be all right. The problem with the Jedi and the Sith are fighting for keeps. The Jedi are just punching in the dark. Let's Talk Star Wars says, if anyone is an actor, I'm taking auditions for the Sith in my fan film. Not to plug, but I am looking. Man, please plug away. Please plug away. You guys go ahead and make sure that you follow Let's Talk Star Wars and Ron as well. And then if you guys got the chops, or you think you have some talent, go ahead and send in an audition for his fan film. I was 8 when I watched A New Hope in the theater in '77. Yeah, my pops was there as well. Girls are the way to the dark side. Yes. Many would consider unnatural. I agree. From a logical standpoint, stepping out was the solution, but think about it as a religion for a minute. If you remove your guiding light influence, you expect the ship to crash into dark. True. You think the Jedi were... I don't think the Jedi even considered stepping away from the engagement. This is just like from our omnipresence and our retrospect. But if they did, I agree. They see themselves as the heroes. They see themselves as the keepers of the peace. They don't trust anybody else to lead the galaxy out of this dark time. So how could they step away? That was their problem. Qui-Gon was like, what? He was like, man, forget the code. I'll leave the Jedi Order and take Anakin with me. He's getting drained, period. So they just didn't have that resolve, man. I mentioned that in my Fixing the First Order vid. He played events so well, Master Manipulator. Master Manipulator. And that's why I'm doing my Palpatine and the 48 Laws of Power series. On the quest to power, there are certain techniques and principles that everybody adheres to, but Palpatine does it better than everybody, never outshining the master. Why reputation, which is probably the most important way that Palpatine won the war, Law 5. If you haven't seen my video, go check it out. Palpatine made sure that his reputation was super pristine and that the Jedi's, was in the trash heap. And then he calls Order 66 and nobody has a problem with it. That's how you win. Master Manipulator. I'd be down to be in a fan film. Hey, Nicholas, you do a great solo. I mean, if you do, reach out to Let's Talk Star Wars, man. Go to his page, get his email. Granted, but from the Jedi mindset, the Jedi were always there. They saw it as their duty since the Republic Memorial to guide it. Nah, you're right. I have no quarrel with that. But they still should have just this sounds cold, but just in retrospect, they should have left the Republic to its fate. And the funny thing is that the Republic, looking back, the Republic would have been safe if the Jedi stepped back, because Palpatine is controlling both sides of the war. He's the Chancellor and he's the head of the Confederacy. So, I mean, yes, he could still have a war and then get the galaxy to blame the Jedi for, not participating, but that still doesn't solve 10,000 Jedi Knights versus 2 Sith. That still doesn't solve that. So, yeah, I don't know. Qui-Gon just, I'm gonna beat it into a dead horse, but Qui-Gon just had the right idea. But no, you're right. They did see it as their duty. I already auditioned. How did the audition go, Dave? And what role did you audition for? They stayed at the wheel till it crashed anyway. Yeah, the Jedi were just driving a car blindfolded on some Bird Box type stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. It's okay. Mr. Starlight, welcome. Or perhaps he's wondering why someone would shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane. We are doing well, my friend. We are doing very well. First Order is such a cool topic, run by people who seem like children. There are some First Order officers I think are really cool. Like, I forget his name, but the guy who was running the Dreadnought in The Last Jedi, I really liked him. It's too bad he died. I thought he was cool. I hated Hux. The moment I saw him, I was like, oh, I hate this guy. But when Poe was trolling him, General Hugs, I realized, okay, let me back up. This guy is literally comic relief. He's like an evil C-3PO in human form. So I kind of got over that. But the First Order, yeah, and I like Captain Phasma. I think that she should probably have more screen time. I like the way she looks, I'll say, and I like that she kind of has like the whole pseudo cyborg thing going. There was a deleted scene from The Last Jedi where Finn, when they're on Snoke's ship and it's about to be destroyed, Finn, he calls her out for giving them the codes to help blow up Starkiller Base, and she ended up killing a few of her own troopers. That is just character development. That is essential. I didn't understand why they cut that out of the movie. Maybe because it was long, but that was just essential. That brought some dynamism to her character. And I just can't for the life of me understand why that wasn't in the movie. I don't know. Just watch The Phantom Menace and Palpatine's plan is so convoluted. Still love the prequels though. What was convoluted about it? I'm interested to hear that because it seems it certainly is detailed, but there's really only 3 parts of his plan. It's damage the reputation of the Jedi, secure further political power, and then whittle the Jedi numbers down through the Clone Wars until I can take them all out in one fell swoop. That's his plan to me. Even at a basic level, the complete withdrawal of the Jedi Order would have shocked the Republic enough that they might have woken up. Yeah, true. First audition, so I'm not giving info yet, other than it will take place during the hyperspace war timeline. Awesome. The Jedi end up painted as traitors of the Republic as it burned to the ground. Excuse me, I'm over here burping. So are we talking Plagueis, Tenebris? They screwed up the First Order leadership so bad. I just did that vid and it was 30 minutes plus. I had to cut it down. Ah, man, you was really going in, huh? I'm not sure about the First Order leadership, so I'll definitely have to go and watch your video. I'm not sure if it's bad or good. I really like Snoke. Hux is clearly a joke. Then you have Kylo Ren as the Enforcer. We haven't seen, we haven't seen like Moffs or anybody like that. It seems a little bit different from the Empire in that Snoke has a lot more direct control than Palpatine did. Palpatine just, he was left to his own devices and other things going on. The Moffs ran the Empire, but it seems like Snoke has more direct contact. Not sure the timeline of the Hyperspace War, Stark Hyperspace War. That deleted scene was great. The one with Finn and Phasma. Also ties with the Phasma novel as well. That's on my list to read. Right now I'm reading Dark Disciples, but I gotta catch up on my novelization readings. I used to read every novelization that dropped as far as like the sagas and stuff, and I used to be pretty heavy reading, but when they started over, I don't know, I was just kind of burnt out. I was like, yo, if they're gonna rebuild the EU, I'll let them rebuild it. I'll play catch up later. So I haven't read Phasma's novel. I tried to read the Ahsoka novel. I think I got like 25% through it. I had to put it down. And I love reading. I read a lot, but that book was just not good. Or at least not to me. Maybe it picked up later, but I had to put it down. First Order come off as tactically incompetent, immature, and undisciplined. I will agree with that. The Empire was certainly more militaristic. They weren't playing. They were a mix of the British and the Nazis. Yeah, thanks for spelling that out. I'm not sure if the email showed up when you dropped it. Has there been a great EU book since the reset? I've heard a lot of good things about Dark Disciples, but I'm not sure how many books there have been. There's been 9? 10? I heard Thrawn Alliances was pretty good. Timothy Zahn wrote it, and he wrote the original Thrawn series, so I don't know. And check it out. I don't know if there's been any just quintessential bombshells. I don't think so, not yet. I want to do a battle analysis of the first battle of The Last Jedi to show all the ways that the First Order gave away every tactical advantage they had. That would be something. You should do that. You should do that. Let me ask you this, and all you guys. So when The Force Awakens came out, one thing that I took issue with was the fact that 30 years after the Galactic Civil War, they were still flying X-Wings and still, TIE fighters and Star Destroyers. Did that bother you guys? I like the new Thrawn books. Okay, I'll have to check it out. Bloodline was kind of lame. I didn't read Bloodline, but Lords of the Sith. That's a good book. I read part of that. That was pretty good. At least in Bloodlines, we get a couple of important revelations, like how Leia ended up as General Organa, and how Kylo Ren found out. Well, how old Kylo is, and then how he found out that Vader was his grandfather. How long he was training with Luke and how long he's been training with Snoke. Bloodline is the name of my charity chapter in LA. What are your thoughts about Rey overall as a character? I seem to be the only person in my Star Wars friend group that tends to really like this character. So my first video, if you can even stand to listen to it, I can't. But my first video was about Rey as a Jedi Knight and why I think she doesn't work as a Jedi Knight yet. And that was just about Force powers and her exploits and things. I think Rey is fine. I like Rey. She's very personable. I think that in terms of what it takes to be a Jedi, emotionally at least, and in terms of good stock and character, I think that she has what a Jedi should be as far as a good person. She knows the difference between right and wrong. She's not perfect. She's driven. She's aggressive. And she will go out on a limb for other people. And I think that's, in general, the kind of temperament that a Jedi should consider having. And so I like Rey. I think that she's a good protagonist. She hasn't shown us anything otherwise. Now, in terms of her quick, swift rise through the Force, that's something else. Yeah, that's something else. And I hope that some books and really episode 9 will kind of give us a full answer as to why that has been so quick. And yeah, I just don't know, but I like her as a character. Tarkin was great. Yes, I forgot about Tarkin. First Thrawn book, good. I can't finish the second Thrawn thus far. Didn't get into the others. Ouch, can't finish it. Thrawn, oh, whoa, I gotta catch up in the chat, jeez. The missing Y-Wings bothered me. Maybe we'll get Y-Wings in the last movie, because we didn't get... Did we get Y-Wings in A New Hope? Were Y-Wings first introduced in Return of the Jedi? I can't remember. Did we get Y-Wings in A New Hope? No, I can't remember. Somebody let me know. But I say that to say that, we just saw A-Wings. We saw A-Wings for the first time in Return of the Jedi, and we saw them in The Last Jedi. So, I'm sure we'll see some more ships later on. Funding, man. Canada is using equipment from Vietnam era because we don't allocate funds for newer equipment. Funding, okay. Interesting. It didn't really bother me too much, I guess. Did you want them to have completely redesigned ships? So I didn't want them to have redesigned ships, but I found it curious that in 3 years of the Clone Wars, they went from flying in hyperspace rings to not flying in hyperspace rings. They were approaching X-Wings and TIE fighters and, better Star Destroyers. And technology was just advancing. They went through different phases in clone armor. And so I would expect that in 30 years, they would make a lot more advancement. But I'm starting to switch my thoughts on that a little bit, and here's why. On the New Republic side, they haven't been in war. In fact, they scaled down their military mightily. So it makes sense that they wouldn't have many advancements technologically speaking. The First Order, that Imperial remnant that became the First Order, was in the unknown regions for 30 years. So they were just alone, isolated. So all they've been doing is pretty much just building. It makes sense that they don't have any the most significant technological advancement that they made was mobilizing Death Star tech, which was really, really cool. But as for them still flying Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters, that makes sense because they were isolated. And isolation, it seems, does not tend to breed ingenuity. Or maybe I'm wrong. But that is kind of my thoughts on the matter. But it did bother me at first. But after I thought about it, after, a couple years thinking about it, wait a second. Force Awakens came out 5 years ago? Jeez Louise. Wait. No, it came out 4 years ago. Okay. Yeah, after a few years thinking about it, I've loosened up. Loosen up! I didn't mind the X-Wings and TIE Fighters in The Force Awakens because the lore behind it makes sense. I do wish there were new ship designs. Yeah, that's all I was kind of looking for. Wartime tech is only pumped out during a wartime machine. Yeah, there you go with wartime budgets. Yeah, I think that's the answer. If you guys like Star Wars and cosplay, please check out the Dark Side Riders on... Oh, yeah. Where'd it go? Check out the Dark Side Riders here and on Facebook. Yeah, you guys. Sally forth. Support the community. What about the fact that the Falcon is a graveyard rather than a freaking galactic monument? Yeah, I feel that. But also the Falcon is like perpetually breaking down. That's kind of the running joke. Like it's always losing stuff. It's always breaking down, being refitted and just kind of cobbled together. Those YT 1300s. So I think it'll kind of always be like that. Yeah, it messed with me some, but I was open to a reboot on Thrawn. I love the second new book because it plays Thrawn and Vader against each other, and Thrawn figured out Vader was Anakin. Oh, spoiler alert. Thanks, Ron. I'm kidding. She hops in, almost wrecks the Falcon, and then flew it like she stole it. She needed to slow down. You know what? I was cool with how she did steal it, so I think she flew it appropriately based on that. But I actually liked how she flew the Falcon because that wasn't just her flying the Falcon. That was a demonstration of how strong she was with the Force. Because as we have seen, when you're strong with the Force, you can just kind of hop into a fighter and you can fly it pretty competently. Personally, I don't like overt displays of Force use when it's somebody new. I like stuff that's more grounded, like enhanced reflexes. You can, pilot a pod racer. I like stuff like that. Rey hopping into the Millennium Falcon, and then, dude, she turned it off in midair and put it in a position where Finn could shoot the TIE Fighters. That was straight up the Force. The Force was just straight up with her. So me personally, I like that scene. Y-Wings were in A New Hope. Okay, got it. One survived the mission. Ivan Verlaine was the only Y-Wing pilot to survive the Battle of Yavin. I didn't like the timeline back and forth in Thrawn Book 2. Hate the bobble. There's so much content ongoing in Star Wars with the new movies plus Rebels, etc. I don't like jumping everywhere at once. I understand. I wish they were cloning. I like the Cartoon Thrawn. Yeah, Cartoon Thrawn was spot on. That was straight up Dark Forces Rising. I didn't mind the timeline jumping. The T-70, oh man. Mr. Starlight, what are you, some kind of far away engineer? The T-70 X-Wing, the Resistance X-Wing, was actually an older model than the one used by the New Republic, the T-85. All Resistance ships were older models. Yeah, and they were older models because, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were older models because the New Republic wouldn't supply them with arms, right? Stay on target. We got to see Padme, so you can see how Leia took after her. Oh yeah, 100%. Luke and Leia behave just like Padme. Yes, Luke wants to sally forth and become a Jedi, but Anakin was not even morally ambiguous. He was actually, I mean, he was like a good guy, but he was kind of a bad person. I don't mean Vader, I mean Anakin. I mean, he was doing a lot of bad stuff and just making a lot of wrong choices, like morally wrong choices. But Luke and Leia have a innate sense of duty and right and wrong, and I think they get that from Padme. Minor spoiler, sorry, but it's how he does. It's the real story. Interesting. Rey stealing the Falcon was directly responsible for the death of Han. Wait, what? How? You're gonna have to explain that to me, my friend. Turn the toaster down a little, that was dark. Yeah, that was rough, man. Jeez. How? I definitely gotta hear that one. My New Republic lore is a little rusty, but I think that's correct. The New Republic didn't really fund the Resistance. Speaking of Resistance, don't get triggered. Has anybody taken the time to watch a couple of episodes? I watched the pilot just because I don't want to miss any lore or anything like that. It is very much a kid show. There's no blood, no real explosions. It's not like Sesame Street, but it's kind of like, I mean, it's Y7. Anyway, the design is really, really good. And I'll watch almost anything from Dave Filoni just to see it. But in the first episode of Resistance, it looks like there were at least some people in the New Republic that tried to secretly help the Resistance, kind of how America was secretly helping Great Britain in World War II. Anakin was a good kid when he was around his mom, yeah, from a certain point of view. Yeah, I'd like to know that point of view. When he got with the Jedi, he got all morally blind. Not me, no. Yeah, I didn't think anybody did, but Resistance is not working. Yeah, I only watched the pilot. I want to at least give it 5 episodes just to see what it's about. Just because, like I said, I want to see what cool lore stuff they put in there, if there's any interesting backstories. But yeah, it seems very, very much for babies. I've watched the whole series up to this point. It's interesting at best, not really worth your time at the moment. You know, a lot of pilot seasons can be like that, although Rebels was pretty intense from the get-go, so I don't know. But there's been a few shows where the first season up until like the last couple episodes, I was just kind of like so I'm really hoping that the show ties into the sequels, because Kaz's dad is a senator on Hosnian Prime, and we know from The Force Awakens it gets blown up, so his dad is probably dead. Yeah, I'm hoping for some stuff like that too. I'm hoping for some tie-ins, some good lore explanations, backstory, but we shall see what we shall see. Han had no idea the Falcon was on Jakku, wasn't looking for it. It brought him to Leia and Kylo. Without the Falcon, he was off running from his family and off being solo. Leia and Han were very separated. Okay. He had no idea the Falcon was on Jakku. Okay, well, let me throw this at you. I think, oh my goodness, my neighbors. Dog, shut up. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but Han was looking for the Falcon, which is why he intercepted it with his large smuggling freighter. So he didn't know that it was on Jakku, true, but I do believe he was looking for it. After all, that is his ship, and we don't know at what point he lost it. He probably had been separated from it for a couple years, I'm guessing. But you're right, it did bring him to Leia and to Kylo, that's true. But don't you think that's more so the Force? Bringing those people together? The Force brought Rey to the Falcon, brought the Falcon to Luke's sister, brought Rey, who met Luke's sister, to Luke. That's how I see that. And then also, Kylo Ren was a sick, he's a sick man. He was eventually gonna hunt Han Solo down and kill him. So, I don't know. You might have shot your eye out while watching Resistance. It at least was pretty. If you want a good young Anakin story, read Rogue Planet. Dude, I literally was just looking at Rogue Planet today. I've read Rogue Planet maybe like 4 or 5 times, and that's the precursor to the Yuuzhan Vong War and the New Jedi Order. Rogue Planet has one of the best opening like 4 or 5 chapters like I've read in the Star Wars book. When Anakin was doing those pit races and he fought that oh man, what was it? He fought that alien that was kind of like Sebulba and he killed him. That was intense. That's a good young Anakin book. Definitely read that. Ron, you are 100% right. If Kaz wasn't a human form of Jar Jar Binks, I would be more interested. Yeah, you're right. Amen. Rogue Planet was on target. Rogue Planet was an incredible book. Zonoma Seacot, oh man. Both those gangs could have still found him and killed him. That's true. I hated those dudes. Conja Club and the Guavian Death Gang. Didn't like them. They had no place in The Force Awakens. What bum disliked this video? Whatever. Bums will be bums is what they do. He lost the Falcon in debt. He wasn't looking for it. He was debt worried. So you mean to tell me that Han Solo was not looking for the Millennium Falcon? I mean, since we've known Han Solo, he's been in debt. The only time he hasn't been in debt was when he paid off Jabba, presumably after episode... Wait. No. Han Solo has always been in debt. Because that's why Jabba had him carbon frozen in the first place. No. Bro, I'm sorry. I disagree with you on that respectfully. I believe that Han Solo had always been looking for the Falcon. They miss an opportunity for a much more emotional death of Han. Blood Carver, there you go. That was the thing that Anakin killed. I don't think he lost the Falcon in debt. I might be wrong. I get thumbs down when doing charity work with sick kids on YouTube. It has haters all over it. Yeah, that's true. Jeez, I'm not too. It's whatever. Okay, so back to what the Real Comic Stack said. They missed an opportunity for a much more emotional death with Han. You know what? It's interesting. The first few times I wasn't too struck emotionally by Han's death, but recently I went back and watched The Force Awakens and I choked up. I was like, geez, man, he really killed his father. This dude is sick. This dude is a sicko. I think that I like Han's death. Him just kind of falling into the pit, I was kind of disappointed by a little bit, but I think it was pretty emotional. Where I think they dropped the ball is having Luke in mourning. That didn't make any sense to me. He stepped on the Falcon real quick and he gives kind of a teary-eyed look at Chewie, but other than that, he doesn't say anything about it, and that's his best friend. So I think they definitely dropped the ball on that, and perhaps that would have added to the emotion in episode 7. I wanted him to feel Leia reach out when he was injured. He feels her say, "I love you," and she says, "I know." Ah, man. Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah, that would have been good. But can that even technically happen since Han isn't Force sensitive? I wonder. But yeah, that would have been good. They cut the scene out. Oh, so that was a scene? Could still happen. Remember, Luke has some serious depression problems at the moment. Yeah, he does. But you know what? I would wonder if he let those go. I mean, I assume he did. Peace and purpose and all that. Yo, I don't know who else is watching, but if you are lurking in the shadows, I would welcome you to the chat, welcome you to the channel. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe. There's 14 people watching, 10 thumbs in the chat, so please join us. My mouth is getting dry. Hold on a second, you guys. I am going to put my mic on pause, but you guys go ahead and keep going. Another happy landing. And we are back. Just had to get some water, wet my whistle. That was good. Okay, let me catch back up in the chat. Let's see. I thought Han's death was handled very well. It's very satisfying into his character arc. From A New Hope, he cared for nothing. With the Falcon and Chewie, at the end of The Force Awakens, he died trying to get his son. I concur. Theo, hello. Glad you're with us. Yeah, lurkers. Alan talking. I've never even talked on YouTube before. Well, it pleases me that you be the first. You should. Ensuing Chaos, you definitely have a lot of insightful things to say. Rubalo, you at work, man? Does Kylo talk to Vader literally like Momin? Good question. I don't know. I would assume so. Maybe he had a vision. Maybe Kylo Ren. So he literally was talking to Vader's helmet. So a couple of things could happen. So the Sith always kind of are associated with objects. They can't just walk around as Force ghosts like the Jedi can. But we know that Anakin Skywalker is a Force ghost. He's one with the Force. But in the art of The Force Awakens, they were going to use a kind of blended Darth Vader, Anakin, Force Ghost type thing appear in the movie. So I'm not sure if he talks to Vader like Momin, but I think the timing is interesting that they would introduce Vader and Momin and having Momin be a mask that can talk. I don't know. I don't know how he was talking to Vader though. Maybe it was just a vision. Have a great evening. Have a good one, Mike. Have fun. Thanks for coming. Ah, an echo. Is there still an echo now? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's from. I have to look into that. Interesting. Okay. Let me catch back up. I'd like to see Black Mandalorian's channel blow up big. Man, that would be cool. I appreciate that, Rubalo. I mean, like I've said many times before, I'm over here for fun. And so that doesn't mean I don't want to have as many people as possible having moments and conversations like this. That's my ultimate goal. And then if I can get a crack at walking into Lucasfilm's office, that's my other ultimate goal. So I appreciate that. Hopefully, the flock will begin to gather, especially as we go into phase 2 in the next month for the channel. It is going to truly blow you guys away, the stuff that I have planned. It'll be, it won't be quite TV, but it won't be the talking head YouTube stuff. I mean, we will flirt with that eventually, but the things that I have planned for us on the channel, I think you guys will be most pleased. Rey, no family. Han craving family, having lost Leia, Kylo to the dark side. Han essentially adopts Rey, offering her his Falcon family, all he has left. Her current family is the Falcon and Chewie. Slight makes you sound epic though. Thanks, man. I saw that. I'm wondering if there are Sith ghosts too. It's a very slight echo. I actually thought you had your sound set up that way on purpose. I gotta check my OBS settings. On purpose, possibly. Knowingly, that's another matter. I think Snoke is playing head games with Kylo Ren. That's how he thought he got a sign from Vader. Interesting. I've never heard that, and I've never thought about that. Snoke playing head games with Kylo Ren, so he thought he had a sign from Vader. Interesting. So Snoke said he knew every single thing that was in the recesses of Kylo Ren's mind. We know that he has a ring with the inscriptions of the Dwarti and obsidian from Vader's catacombs. Interesting. I haven't thought about that at all before you said that, but that's curious. Very curious. What would it take for episode 9 to blow you away? I think that intrinsically, it being the end of the saga, it has a lot of gumption. It has a lot of kind of ethos in that respect, just by it being the end of the Skywalker saga. So it's gonna tug at our heartstrings no matter what. To blow me away, I think it has to make good on the promise of tying all the movies together, prequels included, because there is a narrative of the chosen one. Not just the chosen one, I think is a little bigger than the chosen one. Bringing balance to the Force, what it means to be in balance. The more time goes on and the more I think about it, the more I recognize things like how important Qui-Gon was to the story, how Star Wars is really about Padme and Anakin, and how they're two representations of a larger whole. Anakin being our more raw human side, giving into our raw emotions, and then Padme being not the altruistic side, but more our sense of duty, providing for our family, getting up for work in the morning, doing the important things that we have to do because it's the right thing to do. Stuff like that. So episode 9 has to, in a deft way, tie all these different things together for me to be blown away. And then I just want to see some cool stuff. It has to be very emotional. I would love to see the Knights of Ren be just like super, super powerful. And it has to have its own soul. Right now, okay, The Last Jedi has its own soul. But as a sequel series, say what you want about the prequels. I love the prequels, but it was definitely an interim story, a mid to interim story. It had its own ships, its own aliens, its own feeling. It was more refined. It was the height of civilization, whereas the Outer Rim is just kind of like spit shine and cantinas and stuff like that. This sequel series to me doesn't have either of those quite yet. So for episode 9, it's not that I want to see Dagobah or I want to see Endor. I just want to see iconic places like that. In its own way. Crate was very, very good. I liked Crate. That was iconic. I need to see more of that. Yeah, I just need to see more of that. So those are some things that I need to be blown away, I think. Snoke linked Rey and Kylo. Did he unlink Vader's ghost and Kylo? Man, Rubalo, that would be an interesting theory story, or theory video. Very, very interesting. Do you have any more thoughts on it? I love how the title of the stream says 30 minutes. Ah, man. Dude, I just... Look, I had some talking points, and by the time I was halfway through my third talking point, it was 6:30. Now it's 7:48. I mean, bada bing, bada boom, forget about it. You just gotta ride the wave and let the good times roll, man. What I don't like is, I think my OBS reset itself because the timer isn't working and the chat isn't showing up on screen. So you guys forgive me for that. That's annoying on my end, but I probably just need to refresh it next Saturday. I do wonder, how did each of you guys find my channel? That's something that I always wonder. Bendu with Kylo, Thrawn in there, closure of Ezra and Ahsoka, New Academy for the young Jedi Broom Boy from Canto Bight. I'm guessing you're talking about episode 9 things. I'm not sure, but if Vader became Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi, it would make sense if Snoke was playing Kylo. The Force gave us the Skywalkers, the Force has to take them. Yeah, I agree. 9 had to take Leia and Kylo. Maybe that's why there's some lag on what we post and what you see. Maybe. Friends with you on Facebook. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thanks, man. Talk Star Wars TV show. Awesome. Gonna hop off for now. Great live stream. I really enjoyed it. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Mr. Starlight. I hope, yeah, I mean, you really got some stuff. I hope you'll continue to be an active member in the community on videos in the future. Found through another stream. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. I think I'm going to give it 5 more minutes and then I'm gonna be out myself because, dude, I am hungry. Want some ice cream or something. Ron, you are having AT-AT chat on your stream tomorrow. I certainly will be there for that. It's so funny because I talked to him on his own channel. You know, I leave comments and the like, but I haven't mentioned to him that I'm a YouTuber and I don't know if he's been to my channel or anything. So this is so funny. And I wanted to reach out to him in the future for a collaboration of some sort, but the Star Wars galaxy continues to shrink. Gotta roll, guys. I'll probably do a live stream tomorrow night to discuss how to fix the First Order and if Obi-Wan was ready. Take care. Yeah, make sure you guys head over to The Real Comic Stacks and give him a sub as well. He's got some good stuff over there. Have a good one, man. Thanks for coming. I was scrolling Facebook in preparation for a project I'm working on and bumped into your page, followed your stuff there and saw your stream. Awesome, man. I'm glad. Very cool. I'm glad you're here. You can come on too if you want. No, it's okay, man. I'll just be an observer this time, perhaps next time. But I certainly will. I will be there, and we'll talk when I'm there. Hope to see you here about your armor. MMCC East Coast here. It will start at 1 p.m. my time. Okay, so that's 4 p.m. Or well, I don't know what time zone you're in, but 1 p.m. my time. Okay, cool. I certainly will be there. And then on the next live stream, I'll make sure that I work out these kinks and have my chat working and some other things. I don't know what happened. I guess because I got logged out of my account. Several people. Awesome. Okay, cool. Another happy landing. There was some good discussions tonight. I think that the real gem though, the real gem was what Rubalo said about, you know, is it possible that Snoke was duping Kylo Ren with the Vader thing? And it makes sense because Vader is Kylo Ren's obsession. It seems like he's Snoke's obsession too, but perhaps he was baiting him and leading him along. And as a master of the dark side, master manipulator, you would expect him to do things like that. And he did. Now that I think about it, he says in The Last Jedi, he said, do you know why I keep a rabid cur in a position of power? Interesting. The end of a string. Was that Snoke keeping Kylo Ren on the end of that string to make sure that he stayed focused and away from the light? Interesting. Bumblebee review. How was Bumblebee, man? Give us a short version. Was it good? I saw Aquaman last week, and dude, I had so much fun watching Aquaman. It was so good. Definitely a good comic book movie. Okay, everything Star Wars, fipped out. I've heard everything Star Wars. Everything Star Wars. It sounds familiar. John Matrix and Let's Talk Star Wars. Okay, cool. Very cool. Okay, 1 more minute, then I'm out of here, gentlemen. Your video at the Vader Fan Film was in my recommendations. I watched the video, liked and subscribed after seeing how deep your Star Wars theories and fan interaction went. Thanks, man. I'm glad. I'm glad, Rubalo. Darth Hammer, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome. It was okay, C+. I mean, that's what I would expect from a Transformer movie, unfortunately. Interesting you bring up Transformers. I was watching the 1986 Transformers. with Orson Welles as Unicron. I listen to his voice for inspiration. Darth Hammer, we are honored that you joined us, but we are literally going off. 5 minutes is up. Thank you guys. Thank all you gentlemen and any ladies out there in the shadows. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys for coming. If you have not subbed, please sub. I'm super interactive. I'm active on Facebook and Instagram, and I drop videos a couple times a week. We got some really good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Like, I am salivating, waiting for you guys to see it. I mean, just to give you an idea, I've been watching Ben Burtt documentaries the past 2 days, and he was the main sound designer for Star Wars and E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark and any American movie you've loved in the last 30 years. He did the sound, and dude, it's just some fun stuff that's coming for the channel. Some stuff that hopefully will separate us and our community from all of the other kind of generic channels out there. Because the community that we have here and the other communities that are budding around us, they're pretty good. So I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Also, we will be live. I mean, we do this every Saturday at 6 p.m. So just stop by and say hello there. So have a good one, you guys. Take it easy. I'm outie. 5,000.